everyone, my name is Sarah, I'm one half of the YA Room, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 worst spooky Halloween reads ever. Now, I know that I want to spread the love for spooky books this season, but I can't do that without talking about some of the worst books I've ever read. Most of you would know that with all the good books that we read, of course there will be some really terrible books that we're forced to endure. I am the type of person who will like DNF a book if I'm not enjoying it, but some of them I just want to push through to see how terrible they are. I'm the worst. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 of the books that I've absolutely hated. I'm so sorry if they are your favorite book or whatever, but this is just my personal opinion. Of course, you might love them and that is totally fine and I respect that, but they just didn't quite do it for me. So let's dive into it. The first book that I am not a fan of is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Now, I read her entire trilogy, the Anna and the French Kiss one. I really enjoyed the first book, but from there it kind of went a little bit downhill for me. I do love a cute contemporary, so I was reading it for like fluff value, but you know, they weren't the best books I ever read. But I did hope that maybe horror novels was going to be her thing. Maybe she wasn't meant to write contemporary. Maybe her true talent lay in horror novels. But apparently not. Think about the movie Scream. It is one of my favorite Halloween movies of all time. I always rewatch it every single year. I just have so much love and respect for it. That's what I thought I was getting when I picked up There's Someone Inside Your House. Oh god. It was like such a cheap knockoff version of the typical like slasher film. It was not great. Honestly, the details surrounding this book are so hazy because I read it and then I instantly wanted to forget it. I was like, take this mess of a Halloween book out of my mind. I do not want to associate anything with it. So that's what I did. I am a queen of blocking things out, and that's what I did with this book. But from what I remember, it is about a town where there's like this serial killer on the loose and the protagonist has to like escape death, of course. Like, who wants to die, really? Me when I was reading this book, but that's beside the point. But for the entirety of this novel, I just wanted the protagonist to be killed. I'm not sure if you're meant to feel that way about most protagonists, but she was just so annoying, and like her constant crushes on guys and how she just like focus on boys and oh, like I'm not gonna get murdered. I wish you would, honestly. Oh my god. This book took everything I had not to throw it across the room, but yet I persisted and I finished it, and that is 2 hours I will never get back. The next book I have to talk about is Stealing Snow. Arguably the worst book out of this whole pile. Oh my god, where do I even begin with this book? It was such a mess. Oh god, it makes me furious thinking about it. So it's like meant to be maybe like a Snow White retelling or whatever, but it was just so far off of that. It was about this girl who was in like an asylum. It was like really messy. Her parents put her there and people don't trust her, and there's a whole lot of abuse and stuff like that going on. And then she escapes to this different kind of world and ew. Stealing Snow had more of a love square than a love triangle. It was just like everyone was in love with everyone. It was a whole lot of mess. I struggled to finish it. I actually think I DNF'd it halfway because it was so terrible. Oh god, I'm having flashbacks. Stealing Snow was just such a poorly written novel. I did not connect with any of the characters. The plot was messy and it was trying to do things that it just couldn't deal with. Oh, this would be a book to avoid if you get angry easily. I'm trying to keep my temper under control right now, but I'm not sure if that's really working because this book just makes me furious. So yeah, definitely on my list of worst 5 spooky novels. So like, it's not even a Halloween book, but it was scary how terrible it was, and that's why it's on the list. Next up, I have Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. I know that E. Lockhart is one of the authors where people tend to either love or hate her books. I am like pretty mixed about them. Like I loved We Were Liars, which I know a lot of people hate. I know. And then I really disliked Genuine Fraud. This book was just so complicated. I had no clue what was going on the entire time. It was like written backwards. Like you'd start somewhere and then later on it would go back and like explain stuff and like give you the details. I'm like, how am I meant to read a book that I can't even keep track of? Like reading a book in chronological order makes me struggle sometimes. How am I supposed to do it backwards? I just really didn't get this book. I know that it was meant to be like a crime kind of thriller and mystery novel. I was just so confused the entire time. I had no clue what was going on. Initially I thought, oh, it's really cool that it's like told in a different chronological order. No, it's not cool if you can't tell what's going on. Not a fan of this book. Apologies. The second to last book I want to talk about is The Truth and Lies of Ella Black. So this book is basically about this girl called Ella who has like a bad version of herself which she calls Bella, who does like all this nightmarish like creepy stuff, and then one day her parents like whisk her away overseas and she's like, what's going... I thought one of those spiders moved, sorry. This book tried really hard to be creepy. It did pull it off in like maybe 1 or 2 instances, but for the most part it was really predictable. I just knew what was coming and the twists weren't really original and it was just very underwhelming. I wanted this book to thrill me. I wanted to be on the edge of my seat, but when I got about to the 60-page mark, I picked what was gonna happen. I'm like, there's no point in reading the rest of this book. Unfortunately, I did. Spent another hour and a half on this novel, and yeah, I was correct. So, time well spent. This book just didn't do it for me. It wasn't creepy enough. The twists were too predictable. Just wasn't a fan. And finally, the last book I have to share with you, I don't actually own a copy of anymore because it pissed me off so much, but that is Grasshopper Jungle. Now this book, God, where do I start? This book is like an absolute mess. I know that was trying to be like funny and talk about the end of the world and talk about sexuality, but like, no, ew, it was just, it made me feel really uncomfortable. So the premise is that like, it's kind of the end of the world and there are giant grasshoppers and there's this boy who's exploring his sexuality, which is really good and I really support that. And I would have loved this book if it wasn't for the giant grasshoppers. And there's also like grasshopper sex in that book and I just wasn't really here for it. Did creep me out a little bit. This book was just trying to be so many different things and implement so many different aspects. Really, it was nightmarish and it came off like a B-grade horror film. Again, I know that a lot of people do really love this book. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for me. Maybe I can't really connect with things that aren't set in this world like as I know it. I don't know, but Grasshopper Jungle, just like stay away from me, please. That's why I evicted it from my shelf. Oops. So these are some of my worst spooky, creepy novels I've ever read. Unfortunately, they just weren't for me. I couldn't connect with them. I didn't like the storyline, all of that stuff. They just didn't do it for me. I'm always really excited to try more thrilling, horror, spooky reads, so if you have any recommendations, definitely let me know, and if you've read any of these and would like to share your thoughts, please go ahead. But that is it for today's video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Do you like reading horror novels, and what are some of the worst spooky books that you've ever read? I would love to hear your thoughts. See you next time. Bye everyone!